thank you so much for your time. My understanding you worked on the first season of The Mandalorian?
I did indeed.
That was the first show that my son ever was excited for at the same time that I was.
So glad you like Mandalorian. It was my first job at ILM.
It's very special in our household, and your work has brought a great amount of joy into my family. And likewise, we watched this movie together, and everyone had a great time with it. With what you do, doing it on an animated film, what is kind of the division of labor between VFX and the animators? Like, how does that work?
So, I mean, it's very much combined. So we are one big team at ILM. And the way that it works is the animation supervisor will kind of look after all animation, all performance, and they'll be there to help the build of all of the characters, to make sure that they're getting all of the tools, all of the controls they need to make the performance happen. My job is to take care of everything else. So building the world, kind of finding the look of the show, and really building the tool set that's going to enable us to bring the rest of the film into life and then bind it with the work and the performances that the animators bring. That's where the whole thing comes into fruition.
On a project like this, where it has a distinct style, but it also has all these kind of creative flourishes, what does that look like to try and have that cohesive feel while doing so many different things?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. And I think one of the things that we did was we were really conscious. We had 3 sites split around the globe, all working concurrently on the show. And so we made sure that we had very definitive guides as to how each specific piece of the effects works, so that it makes it into the whole kind of like image, and it feels like it's on style for Ultraman Rising. And without those style guides, without that kind of level of detail, it's very easy to make very small changes, and suddenly the style kind of drifts in a slightly different direction. So we were really, really clear, really key, lots of communication. When you're making a show like this, it's all about communication, and it's all about, you know, understanding the team you're working with. And we did a great job of communicating everything we needed from the team, and they did an amazing job of bringing it back and bringing us just the most amazing shots that you've ever seen.
One of the things I found so fascinating about your presentation is how it made it so clear that the worlds of live action and animation are getting closer and closer in what that process looks like. But what are the differences between doing VFX on a live action production and a project like this?
I think it's scope and scale. I think when you're working on something like Ultraman Rising, you've got to build the entire world. So there's nothing that isn't bespoke to the show. So everything is built bespoke, all the characters are bespoke, everything you're doing plays to the story of Ultraman Rising. Whereas when you're in VFX, obviously you can go off, you can shoot on location, and it's about taking the same level of artistry and then binding it to the plates. Whereas I think here we're taking the same level of artistry and building the world and then doing the performances on top. So it's a great challenge to have. I love both aspects, but I have to admit, working on Ultraman Rising has just made me love feature animation more and more.
There's those, I forget the phrase that you used for it, but kind of those big iconic shots in it.
Atomo Moments.
Atomo Moments. How did you decide what was the right images, the right moments where you wanted to have that complemented the story?
I mean, that's one of the great things about working with directors like Shannon Tindall and John Aoshima. It's communication. We talk about it, we kind of look at the story, and we realise that these are the kind of points where maybe you don't want to communicate everything through words, you want to communicate it through visuals, and you want to kind of give the viewer a sense of like how Ken or Ultraman is feeling. So like when Emmy is born in front of Ken, he doesn't say anything, but the clouds part, and you see this kind of like glow, almost like a kind of, the image is a glow of his soul just falling in love with this newborn baby. And that was really important. It's a really important piece of storytelling for the piece. And then it all comes down to artwork, working with the art department to really, really kind of like make sure we kind of get the right style that we can push forward to make those moments really sing.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and truly, your work has brought great joy for my whole family.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks so much.